Hey y'all, Tanny Cooks here, and today I'm going to show you how to make an absolutely fabulous side dish for your next cookout. I'm going to show you how to transform canned baked beans into something that tastes almost homemade. So let's get to cooking. I start out by cooking my ground beef. This is 1 pound of 85% lean ground beef. I use garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper, and a little bit of seasoning salt. I missed the clip with me cooking all of that beef, but I also use this kielbasa. Now this is beef sausage, or you could use kielbasa. You could also use turkey. I like to cut it so that the chunks aren't too big, so they're similar size as the actual baked beans it's going to be mixed with. So I cut it into 2, and then I cut each section in half again to get 4 pieces out of the 1 kielbasa length. So you can cut these to the size that you prefer. You can leave this kielbasa or smoked sausage out altogether and just use ground beef, or you can just use sausage and leave out ground beef. So you have a lot of flexibility to decide which meat if any, that you want to add to your baked beans. You could make these loaded baked beans just loading them with the vegetables I'm going to show you and leave the meat out. But this is what my beef smoked sausage looks like once it's cut up. I removed all of the cooked ground beef out of my fry pan, and then I added just a little bit of water to help my kielbasa or smoked sausage cook through without browning too much. And so while that's going on a low to medium heat, I'm going to go ahead and cut up my vegetables. So I'm using a yellow onion as well as a couple of bell peppers. You could certainly use red onion if you like that. And again, I'm just cutting this into a small dice so that everything is kind of a similar size as the actual baked beans themselves. I'm using a small onion. If you don't like a whole lot of onion, you can leave it out altogether and just use the onion powder that we're going to use later. I love the taste of bell peppers. So here I'm cutting up a green bell pepper, and I'm going to use the whole green bell pepper. And then later I'm going to use just a small portion of a red bell pepper, but you could use peppers of any color that you prefer. With my bell peppers, I do like to take my knife and cut out that little membrane that's inside of it, just so it doesn't give a bitter taste that somebody might bite. When I'm cutting my bell peppers, I like the outer skin side to be on the bottom, and I cut from the top, or what would be the inside of the bell pepper. I seem to have more control that way. So I slice it, and then I turn my slices to the side so I can get a small dice. And once I do that with my green bell pepper, I'm going to do the same process, but I'm just going to use about 1/4 or 1/2 of the red bell pepper. So cut it into slices of your size choice, and then turn your slices to the side so that you can dice it up nice and easily. You could also use some jarred roasted red peppers, but I like the texture of using these fresh ones. Look how beautiful our veggies are. And they really add an important kick to the baked beans, so you don't want to leave them out. So once I'm done with my vegetables, my beef sausage is just about done. I have my honey sweet Busch's baked beans, as well as a can of home-style baked beans. Whatever beans you buy, you want to be sure that you look at the ingredient list to see if it contains any products you don't want. Like some may contain pork, so if that's important to you to not have, then just read the ingredients. You might also see it has more sugar than you want. You can look at the carbs as well as the sodium level. That's kind of high for a side dish. The total fat, and this can has 6 servings, so I'm using 2 cans to have about 12 servings. You want to rinse off the tops of your baked beans with water, vinegar before you open them. Now that I have my ground beef in a bowl, I am just putting my cooked beef sausage in that same bowl. I'm not trying to brown my meat, I just want it to be cooked through. So in that same pan, I am now sauteing my vegetables with a little bit of avocado oil. You could use extra virgin olive oil. And actually, when I cooked my ground beef, I could have went ahead and put my vegetables in there too, but I kind of cleaned and chopped my vegetables at the same time my ground beef was cooking. So that's one of the benefits of watching a cooking video all the way through, because you may get some tips at the end that you wish you knew at the beginning before you started cooking. So with my vegetables in the hot pan, I am adding some granulated onion powder, garlic powder, and dry mustard. I like to add dry mustard for the flavor. This one is made by McCormick. I have a link to it in the description box below this video. Adding the dry seasonings to the heat it helps the seasonings to bloom a little bit. I think, anyway. I like the flavor it gives. Some people, if you don't have dry mustard, you can use a little bit of yellow mustard when you mix up the other seasonings with your baked beans, but I'll mention that again when we get to that part. So while those are sauteing, I am just draining my open cans of baked beans. I like to get most of the liquid out, and this is why I say wash the tops, because if you drain it this method, then you don't want to get any dust from the top into your actual baked beans. And be careful with that cut top, because it's really easy to cut yourself, or if there are any children or pets that might be nearby, make sure you keep them away. I am just dumping my baked beans, the first can, into a disposable baking pan. I love these things, especially when I'm cooking for a group of people. It just cuts down on the number of dishes I have to wash afterwards, because I don't reuse these, I throw them away. Okay, now I'm using monk fruit sweetener. I use this instead of brown sugar. I am out of my golden monk fruit, which is like brown sugar, so I'm just using the regular monk fruit with honey. You remember one of my cans of baked beans was honey sweet, so honey goes well with the sugar. So there is my 1/3 cup of honey. Now it kind of drank down a little bit, so I'm just adding just a drizzle more. So that's my 1/3 plus a couple of tablespoons of honey, 1/3 of monk fruit, my kielbasa, beef sausage, and my ground beef. And now I'm just adding my vegetables. And actually, it seemed like it's the least amount of anything is the baked beans, which is supposed to be the star of the dish. But with all these other seasoned ingredients, they all work together to make a fabulous recipe. So I absolutely recommend eating baked beans loaded up with other ingredients. It helps to make these canned baked beans taste a little bit more homemade. So if you make homemade baked beans, leave me a comment down below and let me know, what beans do you use to start with? Do you start with pinto beans, navy beans, Great Northern? I've never made them from scratch that way because this way is absolutely delicious, but I may try it in the future. Now I'm adding a few generous tablespoons of brown sugar barbecue sauce. You want to use the barbecue sauce that has the flavor you like. So if you want a spicy kick to this dish, then you can add a barbecue sauce with some sweet heat to it. I'm adding a few more tablespoons, so probably about a half a cup of barbecue sauce is what I'm using in total. I use 2 big cans of baked beans, but if you wanted to use 3, you certainly could. And look at this. This is how it looks before it goes in the oven. Now remember, every ingredient here is already cooked, so you can taste it. Get a disposable utensil to do one taste to see if you need to add any other seasonings. You could add some liquid yellow mustard if you want. Then you bake it in your oven at 350 degrees for 30 to 45 minutes. And when it comes out, it will look like this. Now, if you use dark brown sugar or molasses, then you can get a deeper, darker color. But I am very happy with this, and it is so delicious. So please be sure to leave me a comment and let me know how you make your from scratch baked beans, or how you like to zhuzh up your canned Busch's baked beans, or another brand for that matter. Thank you so much for watching my video.